Something that I don't get is how many of these people actually know the whole story. So, as you guys know by now, yesterday there was another officer involved shooting involving Daunte Wright, and this happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So, yet again, we have Minneapolis up in flames. But the thing that strikes me is how early we are into the story, where you have conflicting stories and you have stories that really they're not adding up, or if they're not adding up, if anything, it's looking like there is guilt on Daunte Wright's side, because one of the stories, a statement released by the police officers, said that he had a warrant out for his arrest, and when they tried to arrest him, he got back in the car, and that's when the shot was fired. And then other people are saying that he was pulled over because he had air fresheners hanging from the middle mirror in his car. I don't know which one is true or not, but I am willing to bet that the more true story is the fact that the young man had a warrant out for his arrest. And yet again, we have another group of people running to the streets as if violence is the right answer. I don't understand if these people know or don't know that they're literally destroying their own communities. But whether they know that or not, when they wake up in the morning and they see nothing but ash and debris, the locals and then some of the other domestic terrorist people are to be the ones to blame. So I wanted to bring this story to you guys because obviously officer involved shootings are a hot topic of today, because the police are systemically racist, all this other yada yada yada. But let's try to just get as much information as we can from what's out there, make a conclusion, which is not going to be in stone, but hey, it's better than running around and acting in violence first before knowing everything. So with that said, make sure you guys like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you're notified anytime I make a video. And let's dive into this, guys. So this is the mother of Daunte Wright. And this story is brought to us by KARE 11.
Later, I called and his girlfriend answered, which was the passenger in the car, and said that he'd been shot. She put it on the driver's side, and my son was laying there lifeless.
A mother fought through shock, grief, and tears tonight as she described her son Daunte's last moments. Katie Wright said police shot and killed her 20-year-old son after pulling him over for having air fresheners hanging from his mirror.
All right, so that's story number one, Katie Wright. So the mother has her story that the police officers pulled over her son, Daunte Wright, because he had air fresheners hanging from his mirror. So that's narrative number one. So obviously that leads to the conclusion that there are racist cops at play. All right, so narrative number one.
In a press release, police said the person had a warrant out for his arrest, and when they tried to arrest him, he got back into the car, and that's when an officer shot him.
So narrative number two, as you guys can see, these are wildly different narratives, and they require wildly different outcomes and responses by the police. If a police officer, let's talk about narrative number two. If a police officer pulls you over and you have a warrant out for your arrest and you get out the car and then they attempt to arrest you and you go back in the car, what do you think the officer is going to do? You think the officer is going to allow you to get back in the car? Let's see what this guy's doing. No, for all the officer knows, once a suspect who has a warrant is resisting arrest and then going back to the car, for all they know, they are resisting. The suspect is resisting at that point to grab a weapon of violence. So with that said, a proactive measure to make sure that you don't get killed is you shoot first, because at the end of the day, the cops did not know if narrative number two is true. All right, that I'm speaking as an if narrative number two is true, where the officers told him he had a warrant for his arrest, tried to arrest him, and then he refused, and then he went and got back in the car. If you do all that, well, the officers aren't playing games here. All right, so if narrative number one is true, then clearly we have a police involved shooting that went haywire, and it's ultimately going to be a bad outcome for the police officer who pulled the trigger. But either way, we don't know. So I don't know if the police statement is true, But it does sound more true than, oh, we pulled you over because you had air fresheners hanging from your window.
We have Sky 11 up right now. Here's a live look at Sky 11 outside the Brooklyn Center Police Station, where just a few moments ago, we saw police officers using some kind of gas deterrence explosives on a crowd that is assembled around the police station there after giving them warning to walk away, essentially. It is about 3.5 miles to the east from where the scene of the shooting happened, which just happened just west of Brooklyn Boulevard on 63rd Avenue North. Now, Charmaine Nero has been following this developing situation all night. She just left the area a short time ago because the scene was getting a little bit chaotic there. But here's her story of what happened.
Daunte Wright. As crowds gathered at the intersection of 63rd and Lee in Brooklyn Center, the mother of 20-year-old Daunte Wright identified her son as the man killed by police earlier today.
He said they pulled him over because he had air fresheners hanging from his window. They wanted to know about insurance.
So you can't really hear her. She's about to take off her mask.
I will, when the police officer comes back to the window, put him on the phone and I will give him the insurance.
Brooklyn Center Police released an update saying officers pulled over a driver for a traffic violation on Orchard Avenue shortly before 2 p.m. Sunday. It's unclear why officers pulled over the driver, but officers say the driver, identified by his mother as Wright, had an outstanding warrant.
Then I heard the police officer come to the window and say, put the phone down and get out of the car. And Daunte said, why? And he said, we'll explain to you when you get out of the car.
Brooklyn Center Police say as officers attempted to take the driver into custody, he got back into his car.
I heard the police officer say, Daunte, don't run.
That's when police say an officer then discharged his weapon, striking the driver.
Like a minute later, I called and his girlfriend answered, which was the passenger in the car, and said that he'd been shot.
So as you guys can see, obviously the body cam footage is what we need to see. We need to see the body cam footage and we need to see multiple angles. But if what the cops are saying is true, then we just might have yet another justified officer involved shooting. But here's the thing. It's too early to know. We don't know. So these people that are out here rioting and burning their city, they're literally acting in ignorance because for all they know, Daunte Wright could have been resisting at it with a certain level of aggression that would warrant gunshots. He could have been moving in such a way similar to Jacob Blake, where they're trying to get him in the car, but he reaches in the car and then he gets shot. So, we've already seen this happen. We've seen Jacob Blake. He had a warrant. To me, this sounds like Jacob Blake 2.0 had a warrant out for his arrest. They tried to arrest him. He refused. He tried to get back in the car. That's when shots were fired.
Again, as Charmaine said there, it is still unclear why police shot the young man. I understand he had a warrant and he was going back to his car, but that moment is still unclear as far as what happened there. We understand that the body cameras were worn by officers. That's according to police, as well as dash cam video. There you see some explosives going off on the ground there. This is in Brooklyn Center, just outside of the police station, as police are trying to control the scene there as crowds continue to grow in that area. We're going to continue to follow this situation as it develops throughout the night.
Yeah. So as you guys can see, the story isn't fully known yet. Those people are out there rioting and looting in ignorance because, like I said, for all they know, all right, Daunte Wright was in the wrong and he got shot because he was in the wrong. For all they know, the officers were in the wrong. We don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me that people are so quick to act and so quick to judge without knowing the full story. Like, you have your own bias, I have my own bias, and then we apply those biases to the police. But our biases don't equal truth. The truth of the matter is the narrative will play itself out to the public. The true statements will come out. The true sequence of events will come out. They're not coming out a couple hours after this happened on April 11th. So with all that said, it's like, yo, let's practice patience. Let's practice actually wanting to get the whole story, because only a fool acts in impulse after hearing one side of the story. If you hear one side of the story and then you're willing to act, that's just foolish. That is downright foolish. If you're going to act without having the full spectrum of information. All right, I want to read a little bit from the CNN, because CNN is going to frame it as another black person being shot and killed, as we would imagine. All right, so Minnesota National Guard deployed after protests over a man's death following a police shooting during a traffic stop. Now, this is probably the most surprising part: is National Guard was deployed the day of. Wow, we're making some progress. Minneapolis is starting to understand, well, we probably can't just let people ride around destroying stuff. We need extra help. Hundreds protest Sunday night after a black man in Minnesota was shot by a police officer and died following a traffic stop. The incident happened earlier that afternoon in the Minneapolis suburb of Brooklyn Center, about 10 miles from where the former police officer Derek Chauvin is on trial for killing of another black man, George Floyd. So as you guys can see, the theme of this is black man, black man. All right. And the other theme is probably white cop, white cop. All right. And I would assume another theme is resisting, crime. But you know what? Let's wait till we see the story play out. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz identified the man killed in Sunday's incident as Daunte Wright. Gwen and I are praying for Daunte Wright's family as our state mourns another life of a black man taken by law enforcement. Around 2 p.m. local time, police say they were trying to take a man into custody after they determined he had an outstanding warrants during a traffic stop. So he had warrants. Okay, I wonder how many. And I wonder what kind of warrants. He got back into his vehicle and an officer shot him, police said. He then drove several blocks before striking another vehicle, police said. Brooklyn Center Police Chief Tim Gannon said police and medical personnel attempted life-saving measures following the crash, but the man died at the scene. Protesters gathered Sunday evening and marched toward the police department, leading what the city's mayor described as growing civil unrest. Aerial footage from CNN affiliate KARE on Sunday showed several police cars around the Brooklyn Center crash site being swarmed by crowds of people following the death. The video showed people attempting to damage police cars. The state deployed the Minnesota National Guard, and Brooklyn Center Mayor Mike Elliott issued a curfew through 6 a.m. Monday local time 7. So as you guys can see, it's another George Floyd 2020 Black Lives Matter riot all over again. It's BLM 2020 2.0. All right. Right here it says people run as police attempt to disperse the crowd at Brooklyn Center Police Department. Yes, and they should be dispersed, because we should not be allowing domestic terrorists to destroy public property, to disturb the peace, to destroy or try to destroy police cars, which have police officers in them. All right. So curfew is ordered and schools are closed. So these people are not only destroying their community, they are hindering the learning of the kids in their community, because now the schools have to be closed. All right. So the schools are closed. Great job. We'll skip that part. All right. A crowd marches toward the police department. About 100 people were at the initial scene, and 100 to 200 people later marched toward the Brooklyn Center Police Department. Minnesota Department of Public Safety Commissioner John Harrington said at an overnight press conference after nightfall, the groups of people had gathered around the Brooklyn Center Police Department. CNN crews on the scene reported. So, as of now, that's what we know. That's the story, guys. That's the story. Daunte Wright has lost his life. It was either because of police injustice, police negligence, or it was a result of Daunte Wright not complying and not following instruction, being detained, being told you are under arrest, and then ultimately not following the instruction. One of those is the reason why the young man died. And I'm not going to sit up here and say, oh, I know the reason, because I don't. But what I am going to say is, here's narrative one, here's narrative two. Let's see which narrative has the most evidence. Let's see what the sequence looks like on the body cam. Let's wait and see. Let's be patient and gather the information, because at the end of the day, that is what walking in wisdom does. Walking in wisdom doesn't practice impulsivity. And what we're seeing in most of these riots is impulse after impulse after impulse. But I'm going to leave that right there. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you're notified anytime I make a video. I will see you good people on the next one. Peace.